Welcome to the HVMN podcast, your resource for evidence-based nutritional strategies, cognitive performance, and fitness science. Thank you for joining us. On May 17th, 2019, the low-carb community was taken aback with some surprising news. Banting's 7-Day Meal Plans, a popular low-carb Facebook group with over 1.5 million members, was banned by the platform without warning. 1.5 million people, a population akin to an entire city, found themselves without a support system, no new meal recipes to add to their week, and really no home. Many were in uproar and disbelief. Heated discussions around censorship, targeted attacks, and even anti-low-carb conspiracies ran amok. Notable figures like Professor Tim Noakes, Dr. Sean Baker, CrossFit founder Greg Glassman chimed in with their 2 cents. Clashing opinions ranging from blaming the silent but powerful anti-fat industry heads to supporting Facebook's decision because they believe the diet is unscientific caused quite the schism. After all was said and done, Facebook reinstated the group 2 days later. What could have caused the banning of millions in the first place? The creator of the group, Rita Venter, joins this episode to walk us through the entire debacle. Jeff, take it away.
Rita, really great to have you on the program. I know you're dialing in from South Africa, so appreciate the big time difference from San Francisco to South Africa here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored to be on your show, to be honest. It's a huge privilege.
No, our honor. And this is a very timely conversation. We just had Professor Tim Noakes on our program, and this was before the recent controversy hoopla around the Facebook group that you started with over 1.6 million people on it about the Banting diet, which is sort of the South African colloquial term for a low-carb ketogenic lifestyle. And just to give a quick summary for the folks who haven't been following the controversy, which was big on low-carb Twitter and nutrition Twitter, essentially one of the largest diet lifestyle groups on Facebook, over 1.6 million people, was banned without warning. And then the last couple of days was reinstated, and it seems to be kind of smoothed out.
Yes, it has.
We'll dive into that. But before that, I'm just curious to hear your personal story.
Okay.
You know, what brought you into the Banting lifestyle, the low carb lifestyle, and what caused you to start this group? Obviously, years ago, which was quite seminal in terms of what you've seen the movement grow to today.
Yeah, it was 5 years ago. In August, it will be 5 years. My brother and his wife came to a function that we had, and they'd lost all this weight. And I was like, oh my word, what happened? How did you manage to lose all this weight? And I'll never forget, I said that I'd make curry that night, and they said they'd bring along their own cauliflower rice. And I was like, what's cauliflower rice? What are you talking about? Rice is rice. And when they arrived, they looked so fantastic. I was so jealous. I was like, what happened, guys? How did you lose all this weight? And they basically said, we're following the Tim Noakes diet, because everybody knew it as the Tim Noakes diet at first. Nobody knew the word Banting. So obviously, I couldn't wait to get home to Google, because you couldn't Google there because it would have just been rude. So I couldn't wait to get home and Google this. And, the more I read, the more I realized that this was the lifestyle for us. My husband's a type 1 diabetic, and he could never control his sugar. And I know that it's normally type 2 diabetics that do the keto, paleo, Banting diet. But we saw, and then he went to China for a business, and I just thought, well, this is the perfect time to clean out the house and start reading labels and start cleaning out. And when I did clean out, I was left like with one tin of tomatoes in the cupboard. Every single thing that I had in my cupboard that was healthy, like muesli and cereals and all those things, they were all full of sugar and a very, very high carb, although they said fat-free. And I just thought, wow, I have to literally, I didn't throw it away. I actually gave all the food to our local soup kitchen. So, because, obviously the food wasn't ideal for me, but it was fine for people that are hungry. So I gave that all away. And we started there. And I lost weight. At first, I actually gained weight, to be honest, because I was just completely overeating. I didn't know how to do this. So then I decided, seeing that I've got a black belt in Facebook, I'm just going to join every single group that I can possibly join about this lifestyle. And I belonged to a group, and this group was selling meal plans. And there was an elderly lady on there. She said that she was a pensioner and she couldn't afford this meal plan. And could somebody please give her some help, because she wanted to know if she was overdoing protein. And the group owner basically said to her, look, you can afford to stuff your face with protein, you can afford to buy one of my meal plans. So that sort of got me a tad annoyed. Well, it didn't get me a tad annoyed. I got seriously hacked off. And I just decided I'm going to start a group, and I'm going to design meal plans, and I'm going to do them based on what we can eat and not eat. And I'm just going to give them away for free. Everybody is welcome. Come and get them all for free. So that's how the group started. Basically, I wasn't trying to be noble or anything. I was just really, really annoyed that somebody would disrespect somebody that was older than them in that fashion, and that somebody would disrespect somebody that just couldn't afford something. I'm fortunate enough not to have to worry about where my next meal is coming from, but there are a lot of people that aren't in that position.
Right.
So when I started the group, it was a very, very elitist lifestyle. I mean, people were eating like Wagyu beef, and or every little thing had to be organic and the most expensive, and organic coconut oil and organic everything. Like I said to somebody the other day, it was like grass-fed beef fed, watered with the tears of unicorns. If you didn't have that, then you weren't going to be successfully banting. And, we've got a huge problem in South Africa with people that eat very, very high carbs. They eat what you Americans would probably call grits, maize meal. So it's grits. So it's a staple diet. It's maize meal. It's a staple diet in South Africa.
Would you say that the carbohydrate load is over 50% typical?
Oh, yeah. People are eating, you get in the same meal, they're eating what we call pap, which you call grits or polenta, or, if you want to be really fancy, and potatoes and rice, or everything is just carbs, because those things are all really cheap. So carbs are cheap. I mean, they GMO, they're not the best food. And, look, I'm not going to demonize carbs. Carbs are not bad for everybody. Carbs are bad for people that are insulin resistant, and carbs are bad for, let's not completely demonize carbs, because I don't think that's.
Yeah, I appreciate that nuance. Absolutely. Because I think it's like the carbs really stopped the notion of famine, right? Because they were so cheap and available. And now I think it's like, okay, we solved people starving to death. Now people are over consuming it. How do we refix that new problem? And I think that's, the more sanguine, more future, more positive mindset around why we're talking about this lifestyle. One of the questions I had was, it sounded like as you were experimenting, going on the Banting diet, the low-carb ketogenic diet, how long was that adaptation period for you personally before you went and wanted to start your own meal plans? Curious to hear your initial transition.
Probably about 2 months. It was about 2 months when I realized that I need to take this seriously, because I started feeling so much better.
Got it.
I wasn't sluggish. I didn't have brain fog anymore. I could play with my granddaughter. I just felt so much better. So it was quite a quick transition, actually. And then I was like one of those reborn Christians. You
gotta learn about this and talk about this and figure this out, right?
I had to spread the message to everybody, and I beat everybody to death with it. It was awful. I think I was awful during that time, to be honest. I really, really was awful.
I want to talk about the explosion in the interest in the growth of this community. And I think we have very interesting personal parallels here where, my entry into the low-carb ketogenic lifestyle actually really started from fasting, which in a lot of ways is a very parallel metabolic strategy as a low-carb diet, in the sense that both strategies reduce the carbohydrate intake and shift towards more of a fat oxidation, fat metabolism state, and induce ketogenesis and ketosis. And now today, I think a lot of people in both communities or strategies both do fasting or intermittent fasting and a low-carb ketogenic diet. But I remember 3-4 years ago when I first started fasting, people thought I was nuts. People thought it was crazy. No one knew what the hell was going on. And I imagine 4 or 5 years ago when you started the Banting group and you were exploring for the first time, people must have thought you were crazy. Like, how do you not eat carbs? This is a staple that the government and all the regulatory bodies have been telling us to consume as the base of the pyramid. I want to hear your journey in terms of seeing this movement grow and the evidence grow and the science grow. And it must have been very, very quick to go from, one person, yourself, starting this group to over 1.6 million people in 5 years. Can you describe that journey and what were the inflection points across the last 5 years?
The group grew because we attracted people that were of all walks of life, not just wealthy people, all walks of life. And they started seeing this in their communities. And people started posting pictures of their before and after. So how has the science changed in South Africa? 5 years ago, if you said that you were Banting, it was literally like you were, it was like a cuss word. The most exciting part about the Banting journey is how everybody's health markers are improving, because obesity is just it's just a symptom of eating incorrectly. The more incorrectly you eat, the more obese you're going to become, and the more you're going to develop all kinds of symptoms like type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure and all of that. And that has been the most exciting part, is that people actually post their cholesterol levels, they post their blood pressure pictures on the group, they post, they don't care, because we're a closed group, so they don't really care. They're not, their friends are seeing those results. They're posting all kinds of ways in how they're curing or putting into remission their illnesses, and that is the most exciting part. So although we used to focus a lot on losing weight, we don't focus on that anymore. We keep on telling people that improve your health and the weight loss will follow. So
yeah, it must have been incredible for you to see that. Just, I'm sure in a group of 1.6 million people, thousands of people talking about like getting off of insulin, right? And I think that was something I saw 3-4 years ago as I got into fasting and the low carb ketogenic lifestyle. People that you talk to are like, I'm reducing my insulin units from 100 units to 50 units to 25, and you're like, oh wow, that's incredible, like congratulations.
It's so rewarding. It's so, and then the other thing that we saw is so many women with PCOS, with polycystic ovarian syndrome, that are having babies. Loads and loads and loads of babies are born on our group, to our group members, and those women were literally told that they'd never have children. All of a sudden, their body is completely healing. They're getting their menstrual cycles, and they're actually having children. They've done absolutely nothing other than cut down on the sugar, eliminate the sugar really, and cut down on the carbs, and cut down on the things that were making them ill. Because yes, we can fix the symptoms, we can give you insulin and we can give you more metformin, but unless we fix the cause, that is never going to get you to the point where you're going to be completely off those medications, where your blood pressure is that of a teenager now, where you're not going home with a party pack of tablets every time you go to the clinic. We've got clinics here where people go to see the doctors and stuff, and a lot of them have to take a day off work so they don't get paid for that day. So they were losing money that way too. Besides the medication, they were losing because they were not getting paid. So it's been a very exciting journey, and the health benefits on this group have been nothing short of miraculous. And I'd like to challenge anyone that says that this lifestyle doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious from, I know a lot of our listeners are in the Silicon Valley tech community. Growing a group to 1.6 million people plus is in 5 years incredibly fast. Was this a purely organic interest as people were just?
Do you know, Jeff, do you know what makes our group popular and why people join is because we're kind and we don't judge anyone for their obesity, for whatever. We're not the type of group that if you go and post a can of Coke because you don't know whether you're allowed to drink that on this lifestyle or not, where people will judge you for it. We'll just say, you know what? No, you can't have that. Rather have water. Instead of saying, no, why are you here? Don't you know about this? Haven't you done research? So we basically see our group as an entry-level research. So we post links on the group of, from all the famous people that you've had on before. So we post those links. We have an admin complement of, I think, about 27 people, and they're all over the world. So we've always got somebody doing admin at any time. We pre-approve every single post that comes onto the group because there's a lot of people trying to post porn and all kinds of stuff. So we pre-approve. So what we do is we will pre-approve a bunch of about 30 posts at a time, and then we'll go and answer them all immediately. And then the wisdom of the crowds come in. We never give medical advice. If somebody's not well, we'll tell them, go see your doctor and then come back to us and give us some feedback. But the reason why the group has grown is because we are kind to people. That's my opinion, because that's what people said when the group was reinstated, that there's no judgment, there's nobody telling them that that they shouldn't do this. We don't tell people what they should and shouldn't do. We'll tell people what or should I put that? We don't dictate to people what they must do. We tell them what they should do to get healthy, and we're very strict on the group, very strict. No hate speech, no racism, no politics, no any of that. Anything that's going to cause strife in the group, we don't allow that. We respect every single person for who they are. We don't care whether you're large, small. We don't care if you got a different skin color, if a different religious belief or sexual orientation. You know what? Take that stuff and take it somewhere else. This is not the place for it. And I think that's why the group grows, because we try to be kind to absolutely everybody.
So it sounds like it's a very sensible discussion group, almost the epitome of what a Facebook group should be like. Obviously, as you as one of the admins and leaders here, sounds very open-minded, focused on discussion, not giving medical practice online. This is more of a discussion support group and a lifestyle discussion group. You got banned last week.
Yes,
out of nowhere.
Why?
Talk me through that. Obviously, you've built this community for the last 5 years, and then boom, deleted. What was the exact statement? What was? How did you respond?
They said, well, let me just tell you, that the night before the group was banned, I had a sick dog. Martha was ill the whole night. I was awake the whole night. I fell asleep at about 7 a.m. About 45 minutes later, one of my admins, Natalie, she phoned me and said, Rita, the group is gone. The group is gone. I said, oh, please, man, don't talk rubbish. It must be some joke. So I then logged on and I saw that said, the group has been permanently deleted for transgressions of our community standards. And I was like, what? What did we transgress? What violation, not transgression, violation of our community? So I'm like, we've got a little bit of a admin chat, and I went in there and I said, guys, what happened? Who said what in the group? What did you guys do? Like, yeah. And they were like, no, not guilty, sorry, not us. And I promise you, my inbox was flooded with, you get that message request thing and you get your inbox. I must have had probably about 2,000 messages. Like, what happened? Why have you deleted us? And not only me, every other admin as well. And we were like, we don't know what's happened. Oh, did I do something wrong? Why did you block me from the group? And I was like, no, you didn't get blocked. We all got blocked. So then there's a thing on Facebook on every group where you can go and look at group health. So we've been doing that regularly to make sure that we're not in contravention of any of their community standards, because we know that is possible, especially now with like anti-vaxxing and all of that. They're trying to take that down. So I then decided I'm going to phone America. Yeah, and the lady on the phone, the recorded message says, you know what? Sorry for you. We don't speak to anyone. If you want to complain, go onto Facebook and complain there.
So you tried to call Facebook the corporate line, and it was nothing was there.
No. They say choose one for Facebook, choose two for Instagram. So you choose one, and customer service, choose one or two, whatever. And it says, we're very sorry, but we do not offer customer service on the phone. Go to, and they guide you to the Facebook page. But the most hilarious thing of it all is I fill in the forms and everything. So we start phoning everybody, and who do you know at Facebook, blah, blah. So I fill in this form. And the best is they send me this thing back and they say to me, we are entitled to take down any group or any person. We can take them off Facebook at any time, our discretion. And please fill in the survey at the bottom to say whether you're satisfied or not. So I ignored that part, and then they sent me that within probably 12 hours, and everybody's freaking out. And in the meantime, I just started a new group so that we could help those people that we'd been helping in the meantime, and we basically got 26,000 members in like 12 hours or something. Everybody just started joining. Obviously, people were still waking up and doing all kinds of stuff. And so then I appealed again, and then they just said, oh, yeah, well, we've got your request, and yeah, we'll analyze it and we'll get back to you. In the meantime, Twitter exploded, Facebook exploded. Yep. Everybody in the world that was anywhere involved with low carb just came together as one and spoke as one voice and said, why are you taking this group down? What is it? What have they done? What community standards have they? Because it's like, you're like beating your head against a wall. They're so big that they basically don't care. So that's what I sort of found out. There's no recourse. You'd think, okay, maybe if it was a community of 160 people or 1,600 people, but 1.65 million people, for God's sake, that's like, I don't know of any other group on Facebook that is that big. To be honest, I've looked, I could be wrong, but a nutrition group, I haven't seen and we just don't understand it. And then they came back with all kinds. Then it was because we were hacked. Then it was because we were giving out medical advice. Then it was because somebody on our admin had done something on another platform.
And all this information were coming from official Facebook representatives. They're just telling you different reasons.
Everybody was giving us a different reason. Everybody. The one lady on our group, on our admin, she has a friend that works for Facebook in Ireland, and she contacted her, and that girl came back and said, listen, this isn't good news. You guys are not doctors. We've received thousands and thousands of reports in the last few days that you're giving out medical advice. So, yes, they say that the group was hacked. But if the group was hacked, it was hacked through Facebook. So Facebook was actually hacked, not just the group. What's happened if we got a hack? What's happened to the information of all those people that are on this group? And we've got 1.1 million South Africans. The rest are all international people. So it's Americans, it's British, Australians, even people from Malaysia and all over the world. We've got people that are on this group. So what's happened did Facebook get hacked? I don't know. So I don't want to go down start with conspiracy theories. I'm not my youngest son who believes everything's a conspiracy theory. But something's happened. Somebody somewhere targeted that group because of us promoting this low carb lifestyle and people getting healthy without having to spend millions on medication. And maybe I am a conspiracy theorist, but that's what I believe. I really do believe that, because there's why come up with like 20 different scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of something that actually happened to our podcast here. We had a conversation with Dave Feldman, who some of our listeners and you might know as a citizen scientist who's been doing a lot of N=1 biohacker experiments on his own blood work and proposing a theory around how LDL is not necessarily a causal factor for heart disease, which LDL sometimes raises when you have a ketogenic diet. And when we were running our distribution on that podcast, Facebook actually banned the promotion of that podcast. And then we had a similar action where we're like, okay, can we do a manual review? What's going on? We're not giving medical advice. We're not telling people, conspiracy theories. We're just having a conversation like you and I are having now about how we see the world and our perspectives. And I think there was some notion around, is this conspiracy against low carb, keto? Is there an automatic ban on certain keywords? I think this just like points to the larger debate around the utility or the platforms of something like a Facebook or a Twitter, and then the push on various political sides around how do you not prevent fake news but not have censorship. And I think that's one of the most, if you go one step further beyond just the diet world, just the whole world of discourse, how do you balance, or what do you think about censorship, fake news, right? Like, the anti-vax, do you ban that explicitly? Or, alt-right or Nazism, do you ban that? Do you allow people to have a conversation? I mean, probably a much more complicated and nuanced discussion for this conversation. But my sense is that I think nutrition, is a part of that broader social norm discussion.
I think that people are feeling the effects of the wisdoms of the crowd, the wisdom of the crowd, where everybody helps each other. And let me tell you something. I don't believe in a lot of these groups that you mentioned. But I also don't believe that it's right to censor them, because it's a slippery slope to what, like a nanny state. I don't like what you're saying, but I don't think that it's my right to stop you from saying what you have to say, because I should respect your views. I might not like them. I probably don't like them. There's politically, I suppose I lean very what you would call left. I'm quite liberal, but I don't think so. I don't think I'm liberal. I just like, I think everybody should just have an equal chance, and everybody should be treated fairly, and everybody should be treated the same. We all have the same aspirations. We all have the same goals for our families and all of that. We all just want to be left alone to do what we do. So although I don't agree with a lot of things, I don't believe that they should be banned. I don't think censorship is a good thing, unless obviously it's like endangers somebody's life.
Right, inciting violence, yep.
Inciting violence.
Right. I think that's and I very much I agree with everything you just said there. I think it's strange for the alternative, which is, do you really want the government or Facebook with some, we all know friends that work at Facebook, some product manager at Facebook arbitrarily deciding this is allowed speech, this is not allowed speech. Do we really want that alternative where you have arbitrary bureaucrats or corporate folks deciding what is acceptable speech? I think that is a weird alternative to suggest is more optimal, with the right caveats. Like Nazism is terrible, but it's like, okay, they can have their discussion there, and everyone can laugh at them and demean them.
Yeah.
And it's very much an America or Western civilization concept where you allow the KKK to have their marches, and everyone has the right to critique and criticize that terrible, terrible behavior. And that's kind of the democracy or freedom that we have as a society, where we allow people to do stupid stuff, and people have the right to criticize them for doing stupid stuff.
No, it's all fun. It's all fun and games until people get hurt. Then I think that's when you start banning. When there's real violence implied, and where there's proper hatred implied. Like, for goodness sake, if I hate eating potatoes, that's hardly going to affect anybody else. It's not the same as hating somebody based on the color of their skin or their religion or any of that. Like, get a grip.
I absolutely agree, and I think that's a good distinction that you mentioned, right? It's like the current free speech laws, I think, actually make a lot of sense. You can say whatever you kind of want, but if you can't yell fire in a movie theater, right? That's a classic example. You're causing panic and causing potential harm to people. You cannot say, let's go kill X type of people. That's inciting and promoting actual violence. And I think there's that distinction there where it's like, okay, let's live and think about this lifestyle, which is a self-choice. I can, eat whatever I kind of want to eat, right? We can let you eat a bunch of soda, a bunch of sugar. That's fine. But I can't talk about, I don't want to eat that. You can't talk about that. That is very strange.
The other thing that a couple of years ago, Karen Thompson, I don't know if you know her, and we did a bit of a podcast as well with about low carbing, and we weren't allowed to promote it on Facebook either because they said that we were fat shaming. And I was like, how are we fat shaming? We're diet shaming. We're not fat shaming. We're talking about like following a different lifestyle. So I don't know if the algorithms are a bit out of whack, maybe that just picks up things that got words in there. You're not allowed to say somebody's fat. Well, I was fat. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Or I think it was Dr. Ford that said if you sugarcoat it, you'll probably eat that too. So, and I agree with him 100%. But the thing is that we've become so politically correct that we don't actually know how to get out of this world of craziness where you can't even say, look, I'm fat and I want to lose weight. I'm unhealthy and I want to get healthy. What kind of political correctness is that? Because nobody in the world is allowed to excel anymore. Everybody has to get a prize. Nobody's allowed to. Everybody gets offended with everything. If I'm more than willing to say I was fat. I lost 30 kilos. I was fat. So what now? But it's a world going crazy with the political correctness. So it could quite easily be that they saw the word fat too many times on our group and they just go down. I don't know.
No, I very much appreciate that sentiment because I think we talk a lot of folks that have either served in the military or elite performers, and there's just some weird averaging of expectations. You just can't say that I was bad and I want to improve and this is my path. And it's like you can't really say that because it's going to hurt someone's feeling that is in a bad shape right now. It's like, well, we got to have some progress here. We got to have a conversation. We want to just help people. I think your intent is not to say you are fat, you are bad. You're saying that I was fat and I didn't want to be fat because I think it's unhealthy, and this is my journey to like not get fat. And people can use that as a role model or a template.
And on our group, I always tell people that you are not fat or overweight because you are greedy and lazy, because you ate too much and you exercised too little. You're actually ill. Learn to accept the fact that you've got an illness called insulin resistance that will eventually become type 2 diabetes. That is what, if you've got a stomach that's really big, that's what why make fun of somebody that's overweight? Would you make fun of somebody that's got cancer? I mean, why? Somebody that's insulin resistant has got an illness, they've got a condition that is a real illness. Why make fun of those people? Why tell them that they must go and exercise? They can't even get up, for God's sake. They can't get off their couch, but they must go and run a marathon. What is that? So to me, we stress all the time. And I mean, you can go and join the group. Or you can't see the post if you're not a member, but you can go and join the group. I tell people all the time, accept that you are not this way. It doesn't matter how much you starve yourself. As long as you keep on eating potatoes and rice and stuff, you are going to stay fat. The thing is, they fail at all these diets because the calorie in, calorie out crowd want to starve these people. So we weren't meant to starve. Maybe yes, maybe in caveman days people did starve because there was nothing around. But nowadays you on every shop, on every street corner there's a McDonald's or there's a whatever, Kentucky Fried Chicken or whatever. And the interesting thing is that once people start realizing that this isn't their fault necessarily, that's when they make that transition where they realize, you know what, I can do this. I've got an illness and I've got to eat for my illness. If I were diabetic, I wouldn't take sugar. So therefore, I'm insulin resistant. So I've got to eat to put my illness in remission. I mean, we've got people in our group that have lost like 87 kilos. Don't ask me pounds. I don't talk in pounds. It's like
yeah, it's like 150, 160 pounds. That's massive. Yeah.
Correct. They've lost that, and not through exercise. Okay, they start exercising later when they can actually get up and walk. Not through exercise. They've done it simply by cutting carbs and cutting sugar.
I mean, I think you're restoring agency back to the individual, where I think you're empowering them. You're out of shape or fat, not because you're a bad person. It's because you're suffering from a form of disease, and you can take agency and create a lifestyle to actually fix and resolve and mitigate those issues, which I think is a very empowering message.
Yeah, and quite often we get the message on the group, I hate my body. And I always say to them, don't bant because you hate your body, bant because you love it. Love it enough to get better, and I find that gets people going when you start empowering people and you start giving them knowledge, but not very sciencey knowledge. Okay, like we're not very sciencey. Okay, we don't go like, I mean, if you had to tell somebody to go and check their HbA1c and they don't know what it is, we just tell them go have a blood test. I find quite often that it's so sciencey that it just goes over normal people's heads. I mean, I'm on a chat group on Twitter, I think it is. I never say a word because those people are so clever that I never say a word.
They're just citing research papers and hemoglobin A1c, LDL, HDL, lipidology.
Yeah. So it's quite often you say to that people will say, look, my cholesterol is high, and then we'll say, what is the breakdown? And they're what do you mean there's a breakdown? Because they don't have that information. They're not empowered. We'll say to them, there's good cholesterol, there's bad cholesterol, there's triglycerides. So, if your doctor's saying to you that your cholesterol is high, maybe your good cholesterol is high. Have you asked them for that breakdown? So there's all of that. I must tell you this story because this actually happened yesterday. It's actually shocking the level of knowledge that doctors give to their patients. A lady sent me a message, said her husband started Banting and he's a type 1 diabetic and he's getting sugar lows. So I said, well, has he been to his doctor, had a blood test and checked to see? I'm not going to tell her to go to HbA1c because that's not going to. So I said, has he gone to the doctor to check his glucose levels and to see if they're coming down and is he decreasing his insulin? So she said, no, what do you think he must decrease his insulin? So I said, well, if you have got high glucose, then you've got to take more insulin. If you've got low glucose, then you've got to take less insulin. She said, I never knew that. What are you talking about? I never knew that. I just thought the man's not eating enough. But his blood sugars have come down, but he's still taking the same amount of insulin that he was taking before. Because you know what? They're a young couple of about 25 or something. They don't know about this stuff, Like I'm like, okay, just ask your doctor to explain that to you. So they don't. It's not stupidity or ignorance. It's that they haven't been told, and I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just saying to her, look, it makes sense that, like when your husband's blood sugar is a bit high, then he gives himself extra insulin. She said, yes. So I said, well, now that it's low, he's got to reduce the insulin. Never knew that. It's just that, what would, no. And so, of course, he's getting very lows. And I mean, he's threatening going hypoglycemic, which is,
makes sense.
Is so dangerous. So I said, you get that man to the doctor tomorrow. You go and get a blood test done, and you go so that the doctor can adjust his insulin. And then she just said to me, well, thank you so much, because I've taken so much away from this. And I was like, okay, well, that just makes sense to me. But it doesn't make sense to everybody. Not everybody thinks that way. The doctor told him he's got to take 110 units of insulin per day, then he will carry on taking 110 units of insulin per day. And that's why I'm saying they don't sit people down and say to them, this is what happens when you take glucose. I mean, when you take insulin, this is why you take insulin. What is the function of insulin? They don't tell people this.
I 100% agree with that sentiment here, which is that I think this is what's happening with the growth of groups like yours and the growth of more of what you call citizen science or biohacking. People just want to understand what the mechanisms are before just following a blind script. And I think more and more doctors are realizing that you don't necessarily treat your patients as a dumb little box that you just shove medicine at. If we can actually empower and teach people what are the mechanisms, why this drug, why this intervention does something, that gives the patient ultimately more understanding and awareness and hopefully improves compliance of using this medicine. And I think I can imagine folks on the other side would say, no, these people are not trained. They have no education for medicine. They should just listen to the doctor and don't question. I just don't think that's realistic anymore. I don't think people in this modern age with access to information are just going to follow a script. If you treat the patient as a rational human that wants to improve their lifestyle, if you just empower them a little bit by just explaining to them why you're doing this, why you should lower your insulin as you go on a lower carbohydrate diet so you don't go hypoglycemic as you're kind of describing, I think the patient would be like, oh, wow, I understand a little bit better and I will comply with your script better.
And, she still didn't quite understand. So I said to her, you know what? Previously, maybe he ate a slice of cake. So he would take the insulin for that slice of cake. So she said, yeah. So I said, well, now he's not having that slice of cake, but he's still taking the insulin for that slice of cake. It was like, oh, okay, now I understand, So it's on our group, when you've got 1.6 million people, any problem that you have, somebody has had it before. Please believe me, whether it be that you've got a keto rash or whether you've got whatever, there's somebody that will come along and say, look, obviously we always say go and see your doctor, but they'll say, oh, I had that and this is what I did and this is what fixed it. And then somebody else will come along and say, oh yeah, I also had that. And yes, with the keto rash, I just increased my carbs a little bit and it went away. So, that is the wisdom of the crowd. That is what is empowering people. And I think that people are far more comfortable just speaking to somebody that is on their level than somebody that looks down at them. I'm the doctor, you the patient. I know your body better than you do. It doesn't work like that in life anymore. I'm not saying that Google is a substitute for a medical degree, but there's a hell of a lot of information out there. Hey, I mean, it's horrible because we're all going to die within the next 5 minutes if we follow all the Google medical advice.
No, I think that's an important caveat and I think important nuance that I do want to underline. Both of us are not medical doctors. Google is not a replacement for formal medical training, and I think our role here with the discussion is we're not telling people what to do, but I think it's worth the information and help people understand and start digesting how to think about themselves and ask the right questions to their actual doctor. I think arming the patient with the right questions and the right baseline sense of information so they can actually have a productive conversation with their primary care practitioner, as opposed to coming in completely naive, completely dumb with no idea what to do and just, please, doctor, just fix me. I think that's like, I think you agree with this, is giving people, empowering people with some agency and some background knowledge for the right questions to take a little bit of agency of their own health.
Absolutely, and you know how empowering it is to go to a doctor and say, look, I've got this rash, this keto rash, because that happens. We don't know why it happens. Nobody knows why it happens. Some people get it, some people don't. It's basically they're starving their body completely of carbohydrates. But I know that there's a carnivore movement out there, but not everybody can do it. Like not everybody can. I've got a friend in Canada. She can't eat any vegetables. She's got such bad Crohn's and celiac disease that she can't eat any vegetables. So, but the thing is to be able to go to the doctor and say, yeah, you know what, I've got this, and I saw that a lot of people have got it too. Can you tell me what it is? It's empowering. You've got to put power back in people's hands, empowering them about their own bodies, and we had people on our group at one stage, all these purists, like, oh gosh, they were just the most annoying people on earth. Oh no, you can't do that because of this, that, and the other. And we just said, you know what? Quite honestly, people will eat what they want to eat. And I find that that's another sort of group that keep people almost trapped because they intimidate people so much. We are not that. We are not that. We are not here to tell you that you need to go and research before you come and ask us. You know what? If you're going to go research, and you don't need to ask for help. You're going to. So we see this very much as a research thing, so that you can get. It's like a forum where you can get help from other people that have gone through the same thing. Long story short, that's what it is.
So the good news is that within the last couple of days, the group was finally reinstated.
Yeah.
Can you talk us about how that came to resolution? And then do you have a sense of how to prevent this from happening in the future? I mean, obviously, if it, did you learn something from this? Or was it you didn't learn anything and you're just like, I don't know?
I don't know. I didn't learn a damn thing. But they took us down on the 14th of May, and then they at about 8 o'clock in the morning, South African time, and then they reinstated us on the 17th of May at probably about 8 o'clock at night. They reinstated us. It was devastating for most of our members. They were lost. They literally go. I mean, I remember at one stage on the group they had a hashtag on there saying "I'm a groupie" because everybody just used to go there because they needed this. So what have I learned from this? I learned that the group is a lot more important than I actually believed. I didn't know. I just you just do what you do, and yeah, you know what? Somebody mentions you every now and then, and it's like, oh, okay. I'm not a celebrity person at all. I don't think I'm not like that. So I didn't realize how important it was. But I can tell you something, that really heavyweights got involved in getting the group reinstated. One of them was Greg Glassman from CrossFit, and he just he took it very personally, actually, and he was calling all kinds of people, senators and attorneys, and I was like, oh my goodness! I mean, I'm like this little woman in Cape Town, and all of these people are. And then I started realizing that this group is really important to so many people, that people were prepared to come together and help us get this thing up and running again. What I found from the members was like, I mean, I don't know how many times I saw in the group in the last 2 days, thank you, Jesus. I mean, there was just so many of them. And people were angry as well, but I think they're over it. You know what it's like. I mean, like, it's like a story on Facebook. You get angry today, by tomorrow morning you're fine because something else has happened. So we get back to the business of helping people and getting them to just live a healthier life, and that's it. You know, it's why they took us down. If they're going to take us down again, I don't know. I don't think they'll try, because some very serious people got involved in this.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is a real community. I mean, this is like a city of people talking together. And I can completely understand how thousands of people would miss their city, they miss their community if it's gone and blown out for no reason. But hopefully there's a silver lining here where people realize, or Facebook or the folks at powers that may be, that you don't mess with these people, because this is important for many, many people. Thank you so much for creating this group and this service. And I think just our conversation for this last hour or so, I mean, I think that leadership, that warmth really comes from, you know, how you set the pace and tone. So how do our listeners get involved or stay in touch and help support this growth here? Obviously, there's the Banting 7-day meal plan group that you run.
Well, I've got some exciting news. I've got a book coming out in October. So myself and Natalie and Kim, with two of the admins and myself, we're writing a book that will be, just talking and telling people how to follow this lifestyle in plain English, not scientific English, just plain English. It's basically most of the questions that have been asked on the group that it's just an expanded FAQ basically, and then lots of recipes, the recipes that were the most popular on the group, but affordable recipes where you can involve your entire family. So that's one exciting thing that's happening. And how to get involved. You know what? You don't have to get involved on the group, but you know what? Just reach out to somebody close to you that's battling with this, and just say to them, there is another way, and just give them hope. Go onto the group and join the group, and go and get before and afters, and go and get testimonials there, and show people that, you know what, you don't have to live a life where you are basically doomed to live in a prison called a body for the rest of your life, and have kindness and patience with people.
Well said. Well, I can't say anything much better than that. So we'll wrap it here. Rita, really a wonderful conversation, and I'm looking forward to the book and the continued growth of the group and all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in this week, everyone. If you want to learn more about HVMN and our offerings, visit www.hvmn.com/pod. Also, by writing a review on our iTunes page and sending a screenshot to podcast@hvmn.com, we'll hook you up with $15 worth of HVMN store credit. Our last shout out goes out to our listener survey, which lets us know who you are better so we can continue making episodes you find most valuable. Visit go.hvmn.com/podcast survey for that survey. It'll only take a few minutes, and new submissions are eligible for an HVMN ketone giveaway. Until next time, eat well, train smart, and live your life.